Yoshi quickly became a fan-favorite character in the Mario universe when he was introduced in Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo in 1990. A year later, Mario's lovable sidekick Dinosaur would get his own game on the NES. And if you were thinking you'd be playing a platformer where you go around the Mushroom Kingdom eating shit and spitting fire at the various creatures of the Mushroom Kingdom, you'd be dead wrong. Instead, we get a falling block puzzle game borrowing from the formula of Tetris, which was already borrowed the previous year under the Mario universe with Dr. Mario. In fact, even in Yoshi's game you play as Mario. Yoshi just stands off to the side and watches, playing second fiddle in his own fucking game. But let's not get wrapped up in that shit and look at this game for how it is. Blocks are dropped in columns of 4, with different creatures represented. Much like in Tetris and Dr. Mario, the goal is to keep the stacks from piling up to the top. You can trim layers by getting 2 of the same blocks stacked on top of the other, causing them both to disappear. It's very similar to Dr. Mario, but you have no control over the actual blocks. Instead, using Mario at the bottom of the screen, you swap stacks that are lined up side by side, so the blocks are going to land in the row that they start from no matter what, and your job is to get as many to match up as often as you can. It sounds easy enough, and the controls are tight, but once the speed picks up, it gets much more interesting, especially once they start dropping 3 blocks at a time as opposed to 2. It takes a while for it to get challenging though when you have it on the lowest setting, so thankfully there are options so you can adjust the speed and starting level, so you can easily customize the flow of the game to match your skill level or experience. Aside from the regular enemy blocks, Yoshi's eggs will also fall from time to time, although they come in halves. If the bottom half lands first, and the top half lands on top of it, you get bonus points. And if you pile up blocks on top of the bottom half, and a top half of the egg lands on top of that, then it will destroy all that shit in between. So these eggs are very helpful, and finally Yoshi has an excuse to do something other than stand there and count the eggs. Furthermore, if a top half of the egg lands with no egg piece underneath it, it'll just break and it's basically a wash. There are 2 main single-player modes. In A mode, you play indefinitely until you get a game over, much like in Tetris's A mode. And in B mode, you have blocks pre-stacked, and you have to clear the screen to advance to the next level, like Dr. Mario. There's also a 2-player competitive mode, where the first person to die loses. There should have been an option to have a B mode style race to clear the screen type of finish. I think it would have been more fun, but at least it has multiplayer. We already knew going into it that this game wasn't going to win any awards for originality, and there's not a lot of variety, but there is definitely still an addictive quality to it. It's not in the same league as Tetris, or even Dr. Mario for that matter, but it's still a fun game in its own right. It would be followed up with another, but much different puzzle game, Yoshi's Cookie, but that'll wait for another day. And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.